Chapter 21 of The House with the Twisting Passage by Marion St. John Webb. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Zanusha. The House with the Twisting Passage by Marion St. John Webb. Chapter 21 The Finding of Mr. Snatcher. It was as she was standing by a window at one end of the twisting passage that afternoon that she suddenly made an extraordinary discovery. She was looking down into the garden when she heard the tramp, tramp of heavy boots coming along the gravel path, round the corner of the house. She leaned out. It was the dustman, coming to fetch the dustbin which was underneath her window. "That's not the dustman who used to come. It's a new one," thought Jenny. "And yet I seem to have seen him before." She looked down at the round top of his hat, which was smothered in fine dust. The dustman called out to one of the servants in a rather irritable voice. Then he looked up, and Jenny saw his face. "It's Mr. Snatcher!" she gasped in amazement, and pulled her head in, and then put it out again at once as she heard the sound of voices raised in some dispute. One of the servants had come out, and the dustman was speaking to her in a sharp, angry voice. The next minute he burst into a violent temper. He seemed to be enraged at the place where the dustbin was kept, and said they put it there on purpose to give him a lot of trouble. More and more angry he grew, his big black moustache bristling with indignation, until Jenny could have cried with joy. "Oh, it is Mr. Snatcher! It is Mr. Snatcher!" She was dancing up and down inside the window. "It's just exactly what he did! I've found him! I've really found him!" And she hung out of the window in rapture. "Of course I know why I didn't find him in the house," she thought. "I remember now. For his last punishment I had turned him into a dustman, and here he is. I never thought I might find him like this." Mr. Snatcher's voice was rising higher and higher in his wrath. There were 3 of the servants outside arguing with him now. It was a wonder Aunt Abby didn't hear, but she was at the front of the house. "I ought to invent a punishment for him, of course," said Jenny. She pulled her head in and looked around for an idea. Her wandering eye lighted on a very large brown rug lying on the floor of the corridor. Quick as thought she picked it up, dragged it to the window, and, heaving it up over the sill, dropped it right on top of Mr. Snatcher's head. His arms shot out, and he whirled round, the rug whirling round with him. The 3 maids began to shriek with laughter at the absurd spectacle. One glance at the tangled mass of rug and Mr. Snatcher, and Jenny flew away to her bedroom and shut the door tight. And there she stayed, not daring to come out again until she was obliged to go down for her tea. Nobody suspected her. She heard the maids still laughing over it, and gathered that they thought the rug had been hanging over the sill to air, and had suddenly fallen. From that time on, Jenny meant to keep a watch for Mr. Snatcher. Now she had found him, she did not mean to lose him again. And some day, when he was in a less bad temper than usual, she meant to speak to him. End of Chapter 21.